Hey, good morning. I thought you guys might find it interesting what we do with our worm bin. We use this vermiculture for our garden, and I'm telling you, it is amazing. It's the only fertilizer we use for gardening. Um, what we have is just, as you can see, is just a old deep freeze that I put up on some legs just to make it easy to work with. And as the worms work this stuff, we just keep pulling it down. We'll pull it from the right to the left, and the stuff that is worked goes into the low end over here. And you can see there's worms all through it. And I just take this chicken yard stuff. I'll dig it out of the yard where the chickens have been scratching and pooping and doing all their stuff, where we throw scraps, as well as we have buckets that catch their poop inside, and I throw that in here, and these worms just devour it. It's a little bit dry because of the summer. I did have to add water a couple of times, and then I have a catch bucket out here with a stick marking where it comes out of the bottom of the freezer, and that is what catches the effluent, the worm. I guess you'd call it worm compost tea. And that stuff is crazy full of all kinds of beneficial microbes. Basically, this whole bin becomes just a big bin full of worm poop. And worm poop is so amazing. Although I have to say, everybody says I don't want to keep worms because worms don't stay at home. And you know what? You're right. They don't. They're trying to escape all the time. And these are red wigglers. I purchased these from Uncle Jim's Worm Farm. Oh goodness, I guess it's been 5 years ago. Well, you can tell by looking at the and I just rake them back in there, just gently rake them back in there, and then you can even see there's a soldier fly larva right there that escaped as well. But I just rake the little boogers back in. These red wigglers are just voracious. I mean, they just devour. Unlike night crawlers, which is what we normally have around here, these are red wigglers. They're from Africa, and I'm telling you, they're a lot like mice in the sense that if they have plenty to eat, they will just multiply and proliferate. If they don't have plenty to eat, they basically just don't lay as many cocoons. But they're just little bitty guys, but they just devour it, and they're amazing composters. So when we put them in the garden, we actually don't try to get all the worms out of the compost. When we take it out there, we put it in, and if there's a few worms in there, the worms wind up in the garden. And so it's incredible what happens. I don't want to make this too long because I know I normally don't talk this much, but this is just something worth talking about. These little boogers have all kinds of microbes that are beneficial. They eat the unbeneficial microbes. There's nothing that a worm can do to harm a plant. They do everything beneficial. So they wind up setting up home around the base of a plant, and they create a symbiotic relationship. Now, the bad part is gophers love to eat worms. And so you have to kind of be careful and watch. What we actually do is we actually put little cages around the base of our plants. See, I've got some old eggshells and stuff in here I've put in here. But, I mean, you can just see this stuff. There's a little guy crawling back down in this hole. But you can just see this stuff is just incredible. So, we put little cages around the bottom of our plants. We made them out of hardware cloth so that the gophers cannot get to the base of the plants. Trying to keep gophers out of gardens where we live is, oh my goodness, other than digging down 2 feet and putting a rock perimeter around your garden, it's just really a challenge. So we actually decided Raised beds is one thing we do, and doing the little baskets around the base of the plants is another thing that we do. And so these little boogers set up camp around the base of these plants. And the reason why they do that is because of all the microbes that feed on the roots. The exudates, it's called, that comes out of the plants. The plants actually produce and secrete sugars as they photosynthesize, which feed bacteria and other microbes, mycorrhizal fungi and all that kind of stuff. And the worms come in and they actually feed on that stuff as well. And all of those microbes and these worms poop and pee at the base of the plant around the roots. And so it just creates an entire habitat for them to be able to go in, dig down, and just have all kinds of thriving life around the base of the plants. Crazy what happens in the unseen realm. But as Scripture tells us, it's what we don't see that controls what we do see. And I promise you, this is a perfect example of how that all works. So, yeah, we just basically rake this stuff down, and then I take this bucket of chicken yard and chicken poop and dump it in there. It's kind of heavy. I'm going to try to do this with one hand. Yeah. Just dump it. I'll keep you guys posted here, hopefully. There we go. Yeah, just dump it in there, and sorry, someday I'll get some good camera gear and a GoPro or something to where that if we keep doing this, you guys will be able to see a little bit better. So these things love this stuff. And it was a little dry. As you can see, it's still a little bit dry, but I poured a bunch of rainwater in here so they can just work this. And when they get finished working it, we'll rake it over to that side and turn this into just amazing fertilizer. You know, leaf mold is probably the closest thing we can get to actual potting soil, but you take leaf mold and mix some of this vermiculture in with it, and it just turns into the most amazing potting soil. You know, you don't need a lot of this stuff. This stuff is so profound. It does not need a ton of this to actually be beneficial to your plants. Man, I don't know. I know I've kind of gone all over the place. Probably need to start writing down a little more of a script, but I needed to attend to them. I guess it's probably been a week since I've actually, maybe 2 weeks since I've actually got in here and messed around with them. And so I figured I would take you guys along for the ride and let you look at it. I do keep a temperature gauge in here. It's a composting thermometer, just because they have like from about 60-70 degrees, which it was 39 last night. This didn't get down below 60. Somewhere between 60-70 degrees and about 80-85 degrees is the prime temperature for these things. So like I said, they're very similar to the way mice do. When they have plenty of food, they just proliferate. When they don't have plenty of food, they just kind of cut back. The cocoons sit in the soil and they just wait for conditions to get correct, and then each cocoon can have up to 12 baby worms in it. So crazy stuff, amazing. But most people are just intimidated at trying to do worms, and I'm telling you, worms are not hard. Just make sure they've got something to eat. If they've got something to eat, they're more than happy to keep going. If there gets to be too many in there, they'll climb out, just like you saw this morning. So what? What's the worst case? You've got worms in your yard? I mean, that's not a big deal. I promise you, as long as they have something to eat, there will be plenty of worms in your worm bin. So, hey, give it a try. Give me some comments, some feedback if you find this to be interesting, or have comments or questions about why we do it, how we do it, or any of that stuff. I'd be thrilled to conversate with you about it. So check it out and let me know. Thanks, guys. See you later.